All right. Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024, and we're here live streaming. I was going to live stream on Sunday, but you know what happened Sunday? After I went to the zoo, I had a migraine.
Wow.
It got worse. And as I was laying down, I got a notification that said, hey, look, there's some tornadoes in the area. So I had to wake back up, put shoes on, see what was going on. It's like, oh, it's going down to Mustang. It's going fine. Everything's going to be great. It's going southeast. Nope, tornadoes decided we're going to go and turn to the northeast, and I have to pay attention to it now. You know, life could be worse. Life could be worse. Heart goes out right now to everybody in Greenfield up there. They're getting hit hard. In general, everybody's just getting hard hit with weather. But we can jump right into that here in just a moment. So joining me tonight is Gavin and Swiggy. Gavin, how are you doing tonight, buddy? How's everything been going as we enter the beginning of really summer at this point? Well, I mean, we're a couple weeks off from the official summer, but we're getting into like schools out, getting into regionals and super regionals, and really just wrapping up the summer portion or the spring portion of summer sports and everything. But what's been going on in your life, Gavin?
Oh man, not a whole lot's going on though too. But man, it's like I will tell you, when severe weather is going off like crazy, and when you work in a news station and everything, it can definitely keep you on your toes. I mean, we had a tornado warning that just came up with no watches or anything like that. Just boomed up, crazy to go, like right in the middle of one of my shows that I actually assist. I basically help assistant direct and everything. And that sucker didn't go off until about close to like 10:30 or so. So I only had like maybe about a good 30-40 minute lunch break and everything. And then I had to get ready for basically our noon show. And I will tell you, it's like the weather here has just been so crazy lately. It's like I don't even know like when it's almost gonna like when is it gonna end at this point? Like seriously, I really need a break.
I think everybody is at that point, because I think our average is doubled this year on what our normal tornadoes by now is, and then by like
I think it's
April,
quadrupled. Yeah.
Well, in April it was quadruple, because like I think our average was something like 14, and we were up to like 45. Like we need a breather. Everybody needs a tornado breather at the moment. Knock on wood.
Yeah. No, although I will say, there was actually a scary moment actually that actually did happen, and I don't know if you saw this, Josh, but one of the stormcasters, storm trackers down there over there at the sister station and everything, basically fishtailed and everything, got in a wreck and everything too, and basically it was caught all on the live stream and everything, and basically
it was Val.
Val basically just wrecked in the median right there and flipped over and everything too. And I just don't know how that he was able to survive, but I was just so glad to hear that him and her was okay. So
it was a minor wreck. Yes, they hydroplaned and it did flip, but it wasn't due to winds, or it wasn't due to tornado stuff. It could have been a lot worse for it, but that's almost just standard vehicle wrecks and everything for it.
Yeah, of course.
It's not as bad as it looks on the camera.
I mean, since they're okay, I'll say it. That was really cool. Since they're okay. I mean, it was. I'm sorry. It was. I'm sorry. I'm not going to pretend it was. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. It's just seeing anything like that always happen. As long as everyone's safe and everything. That's like, wow. It's like, wow. That's it. It's just like, yeah.
Swiggy, this is why we can't have nice things.
Well, it's not my fault. They tend to drive crazy anyway. It was bound to happen.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
That's why I'm saying it too. It's like, if it wasn't, they definitely not victim blaming or anything, but they definitely drove a little crazy.
I mean, that's kind of been in general with the storm chasing community stuff right now, which eventually the chickens are going to come home to roost in that at some capacity, with drivers going in the wrong direction, them speeding, driving recklessly. Don't know how. I don't know what it's going to take for that, but that's a different topic for another day, because you know what we're both here for, all three of us. We are here to talk sports. So, Gavin, let's start with you, buddy. What's on your mind for sports right now?
Well, my mind for sports, if anything else, though, too. I just been hearing this just from a local standpoint. Not much of a soccer fan, but basically our semi-pro soccer team basically had their whole season canceled because their schedule that they submitted and everything was not fully approved, and basically played a few games and everything, and the league said, "Oh no, you guys, we did not approve this or anything, so you are not going to be playing at all this season." And it was just like a crappy move and everything, to where the season's already going and everything, and they just tell them now, well, it's just like a big cluster f up, if anything, at this point. But after all that and everything, that's been the other thing. But on the other hand, like, I've been seeing a lot of interesting issues and everything, but I was pretty excited to also see like OU baseball actually been rocking and rolling pretty good this year.
They won the Big 12 championship for the first time in the history of the athletic program. And the entire part, and it made me laugh, was Oklahoma State still needed to play their game, and they decided, no, the weather's going to be bad. We're just going to cancel it. It wasn't bad at all. Like, maybe a little bit of rain, but that's it. Like, so Oklahoma State basically threw up literally on themselves and gave us the trophy.
You could have done a double header. You could have literally done a double header.
It's very funny, though. Very funny that we're leaving and we won the Big 12 regular season. That's just beautiful. One last trophy. One last Big 12 trophy. Why not?
Which is funny because outside of one, OU and Texas combined have won all the major like sports trophies on their way out to the door, the door to the SEC, which I find that absolutely hysterical, because Mark does not want that. Well, guess what? It happened. Death, taxes, and everything.
Yeah. Hey man, hey, but I'm ready for some awesome Friday night rivalry games this year on Fox. I cannot wait to open the season. Arizona playing Kansas State at 9 p.m. Eastern. In case anyone's missed it, Fox released their Friday night schedule today, and only two of the games make sense. UCLA against Washington, that's fine, and Michigan State against Purdue. Everything else is very much like insane scheduling things, and yet we have the most insane game I have ever seen. Rutgers at USC, starting at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Man, if Rutgers had a fan base, they'd be very upset at that.
Exactly. Yeah. If any Rutgers fans could read, they'd be very upset about this.
Exactly.
But, I tend not to. Realignment always happens, but it's just there. But man, I just don't know. I just don't know it. It's like I really don't think you can say anyone and this is, I'll even go as far as, I know people say stuff all the time. Oh, like swimming, they're not really pretty. That's not really professional. But if you're asking people in California to fly all the way to Rutgers, that's starting to feel like an actual job, not just something you do for fun. Which it's been that way a while anyway, so why hide it? But that's just. But honestly, any Rutgers fan that stays up until 2:30 to watch them get killed by 35 points, they deserve a free burger. They deserve a free coupon to Shake Shack or something.
No, that's beyond even just Pac-12 After Dark. That's like the Hawaii Challenge at that point.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I think that's the thing. If they were playing Hawaii in like some weird non-conference, no one would even blink or complain about it because it's like,
Correct.
well, that's just what happens when you play Hawaii. It's a once in a while thing. Vanderbilt dealt with it. It's not, it's one of those. I hate this. It's one of those. It's no big deal. But the fact that that's a conference game,
it's the nature of the beast for it, where it's if you're going to Hawaii, you accept that that's what happens in Hawaii type of deal.
Plus, you
aren't you glad that we're in a
Hawaii.
conference that is actually regional
Yeah.
and not continental?
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to make this to where like you're doing like an AFC West or East versus West matchup. If anything.
Yeah.
The West is just so big and empty for because the government owns most of that land. But regardless of that, it's just it's just I don't think people realize how big and empty the West really is. It's like okay, like let's say you go from Chicago to Cleveland, you're changing time zones. That seems long. That's like a 5-hour drive. That's maybe 5.5 hours. But like, let's say I wanted to drive to, let's say you stay in the Big 12. We had Colorado. Let's say we wanted to drive up. And I know Boulder isn't Denver, but I'm just going to use that as an example because I don't care. Like OKC to Denver is still like 10 hours.
Yeah.
9-10 hours. It's like it doesn't feel like it should be that long, but no, it is that long. There's just long stretches in the West and Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, something that would take easily an hour here takes about 4 to 5 hours just because you're basically doing that through the mountains at that point. And even once you make it past the Rockies, it's just long stretches. Like it reminds me of literally, Dallas to Louisiana, 10 hours later, we're still in Texas.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think that's the one thing with the bit like I know there's nothing's going to stop the Big Ten plan. That's just where we are because of money. But I do feel for West Coasters who have to make that trip to the east to the east. That just feels like it's going to be miserable.
Do you think they're making that trip outside of the required football team? They're not making that trip.
I know, but
let's be honest. Unless they've never played them before, they're not making that trip.
Well, no, I even meant the players. I meant everyone.
I don't feel bad for the players because they're going to be flying on a private jet.
Well, no, that's still rough. You still have to fly. That's still annoying. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking swimming, wrestling, whatever you want to, whatever it is, because honestly, that just feels miserable for anyone.
Well, yeah, that is what it is for it. I mean, they know what they signed up for, and I know some of that's going to be the networks that are really pushing that and everything. But you didn't have to join. Y'all could have figured something else. But if they that required unity from the Pac-12, though.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, what I'm talking about is I don't feel bad for like the schools. I feel bad just like low key for the people who had the athletes who had no control over it, who are just kind of stuck in this because I mean if it's like it's like that's exactly what I wanted when going to USC. I want to go all the way to Ohio State, which I mean some people will be hyped for it, but
you're also forgetting why it's such a late kickoff as well. Because game 1 of the World Series is happening, and that could potentially be like a double header over on the West Coast. That traffic's going to be a nightmare.
Oh yeah. There's like it's I mean I know everyone says the Dodgers are going to win the war. Dodgers are going to be in it, but I mean they could be. I'm rooting for that because that'd be the most chaotic, and I really don't care for any of the other NL teams.
Yeah. So. I mean, aren't you looking forward to some of these just like stupid wacky games at this point though? Like there. If Lincoln Riley loses that night, does he get fired on his way back to his house?
He might. He might. I mean,
might.
yeah. I'm good for. I'm good for it. I mean, it's just one of those where, it's just with the transfer portal closed, everything with football right now is in just the off season, minor contractual obligations being met. TNT and TNT is buying some games from is buying a few playoff games from ESPN, so they'll get to broadcast them.
And you know what games they're probably buying? Let's be honest on it. It's probably those first round games that are competing against the NFL. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's probably what they're purchasing.
Which definitely fits where definitely fits where Warner Brothers is right now. Because if you and I know I'm going all over here since we got TV, but Warner Brothers actually needs that now because somehow, some way, Warner Brothers fumbled the NBA bag. So
that's to be fair, that's like kind of defining the entire existence of Warner Brothers right now. Like they're not in a good spot. Ever since that Discovery merger, they're in doo-doo mode.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the only ones that are succeeding is Toonami. That's solely because it only has one block to worry about, and you're going to get automatic ratings starting next Friday with Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, and Naruto.
Yeah, so that's so I guess good for Warner Brothers to have that. My wild guess is, assuming unless there's an 11th hour change and NBC goes and NBA goes back to NBC, I'd say probably look for more baseball on TBS.
Yeah,
I think that NHL is firmly on ESPN. NBA is ESPN and that and probably NBC. Football's all over, but they're not going to have. But they're not so. But they're not. But actually, NFL's everywhere but TBS. That's actually kind of funny.
Well, don't forget that the NHL has also been on TNT as well.
Yeah, they have. They have the B. Yeah, they have the B package. But I'm just saying that ESPN. I'm just saying that ESPN has a bit more. NHL is weird because ESPN definitely has more invested in the NHL in the last couple of years. For what it is, but TNT still has some NHL and baseball. I'm guessing that's where. I'm just taking a wild guess and saying that's where TBS is going. Actually, in retrospect, TBS probably should have been on the Pac-12 negotiations, but
probably.
But that kind of shows where Warner Brothers is right now. Where right now they have HBO,
Discovery,
and we're burning in the everything else is being burnt down. Hope James Gunn's Superman is good, guys. That's good.
Speaking of things that are burning down, let's talk a little bit about the inevitable settlement that's coming with the NCAA about their antitrust in the NIL, because it's happening. The G5s and the lowers need to accept they're eating that 60% cost. Now, that said, the Power 5 are still paying a lot of that money still. They're just being grumpy about the 60% over the 40%. But it's inevitable. The NCAA violated antitrust laws. Every school was in on it, so everybody has to pay. And then you start getting ridiculous statements like UConn, well, I don't have football, or like football stuff. We don't have football type of deal. Well, you play March Madness. Congratulations.
You do.
You have to pay into the pot.
Yeah.
It's go ahead.
Yeah, some schools are going to do some schools are going to do some very stupid things to pay back that money.
They're going to cut. But it goes back to, again, goes back to that. OU and Texas were, I'm not going to say we were made fun of, but they were always saying that we were leaving the Big 12 for the money. And to an extent, yes, that is absolutely true. but they were forward thinking at the time. Now, back in 2020, I think it was when it was announced, I thought it was for recruiting, and that they finally saw the writing on the wall. Like, if you don't start recruiting those people in the SEC, it's just not going to happen because most of the kids are staying home at this point. Now, larger picture, they saw this writing on the wall that this antitrust thing was coming, the NIL was coming, and for them joining the SEC, it's a business as usual. We'll write the check and move on with life. We don't have to adjust any of our expenses for it because the budget got bigger. For these other schools, take Iowa State. Well, now we have to stop our wrestling facility to order to pay this and be able to do NIL. Well, guys, maybe you should have joined with OU Texas. And I've always been mixed if it was Texas Tech or if it was another school that wanted it. Maybe you should have invested in the conference at the time instead of short-term gains to get stuff like Oklahoma State increasing their wrestling. Nobody gives a shit about wrestling.
See, the good thing about short-term gains is that by the time your poor decisions have come to roost, you're gone. Someone else is going to be holding the bag.
And that's why they have the value conference or the
Yeah, I mean, that's probably not a good thing moving forward. That like a lot of places encourage short-term gains. Like, yeah, because all the people that made those decisions for short-term gains, they either have a lot of money and are fine, or they've moved on to another job, and now someone's stuck holding the bag by a bad decision. That sucks. Yeah, I mean, it does suck for a lot of schools because it's always it's always been that. That's always been. I mean, that's been the nature of college football, where it's like, oh, someone 6 years ago broke the rules. Well, now you're going to lose scholarships. Ha ha ha. That will learn you when everyone who made those decisions has already taken their golden parachute away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I think it's unfortunate, but at the same time, if you didn't see that there's going to be a settlement at some point, I don't know what to tell you.
It's inevitable. Like, it sucks, but it's also they all broke the rules together, so they all have to pay the price together. Some schools are getting off a little bit easier than others because they have a bigger TV deal. They're a bigger athletic department. For some, it's you've been living beyond your means, and as you said, Swiggy, the chickens have come home to roost. Unfortunately, sucks to suck. Like, in this instance, I don't have sympathy. That's just, it is what it is.
I mean, I have sympathy in the case that it was an entire culture within the NCAA, and like even if you wanted to, even if you kind of wanted to do the right thing, you couldn't do it because the NCAA or other schools would pretty much kill you. So I guess I do feel bad in the sense that even if you wanted to do the right thing, there's really no avenue for it. But at the same time, here we are. This is just how things went. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
It sucks. It is what it is.
But stuff will get figured out. There's really no other options, and just be happy it's not worse. That's all I'm going to say for a lot of schools, because this could have been. Because no matter what people are saying, this could have been lot worse.
And even more so, I mean, to be honest too, if it wanted to be even worse, the Big Ten and the SEC could have probably done their own settlement and moved on with life and left this even bigger bill with the rest of them.
I'm glad they didn't, just because you do want to have some kind of quote unquote unity for this. Like, I guess, what's the cost of quote unquote peace and unity? I mean, I've always said, and we're getting there quicker than I thought, but I've always felt G5 should just break off and be the. But that's the problem with G5. G5 really should be their own thing, but the money is worth so much. It's worth essentially being. Oh yeah, we'll have our own league. We'll never have a chance to win. Like, our championship is our conference championship. If we go to a bowl game, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty much.
But it's also too like this is the chickens coming home to roost for the fan bases as well. We said you don't really want the players paid in this, guys, because it's not going to turn out well for many of you schools. And the uncomfortable truth that they're all facing is everybody warned you, and now it's here. And then, dang, it happened to me. Well, we warned you.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think there should have been a path for players getting paid. I want to be clear about that. I get it. I also feel like, but I also feel like if you want players getting paid, I probably would have taken tuition out of that. But regardless what you think about that, regardless what you think about scholarships versus getting paid, there was a path. There was a path forward that was not this bad. Unfortunately, all of you guys did nothing. And I mean everyone did nothing. Every school let the absolute worst case happen. Every single step along the way, like NIL, unlimited transfers, all this stuff where you could have done a soft landing on this. Instead, let's see here. I think the body is about 10 feet from the ground. So, I mean, it's going to be great. So, I mean, the last 9 and 9/10 feet are going to be fine, but that last bit's going to kill you.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's just it sucks to suck. The schools can complain all they want. There's no other thing. They broke the laws. We all have to pay that price for it.
Yep.
Well, much of them whining and everything as well. And add this in as well. The NCAA had 84, almost 50 years now to figure this out, and they didn't. That's on them.
Not even.
Yeah.
I mean, they even had like. I mean, all this was starting to come up 2010. All this was starting. You had plenty of chances, plenty of ways to figure it out. But I mean, this just kind of goes with everything where it's this is what happens when people get jobs who should not get jobs. And this goes with commissioners. Like, I'll just say it, I'm not a big fan of Adam Silver, and I don't really like Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna say, but like, yeah, they at least both are at least suited for their jobs. I think Silver gets too cutesy with some of the stuff he tries to do, but I never doubt the guy is at least a basketball fan. I feel like he is always trying to do what's best for basketball. There are issues he can't fix, and Goodell's entire thing is I'm going to protect the shield, which that's what you need. Like, as much as once again, Goodell, he's just a lightning rod. But I do get the sense he actively wants the NFL to be better, to improve, and obviously make money, because they always want to make. Because I mean, come on, it's all about money. I don't agree. I don't agree with the Netflix Day games on Christmas. But once again, that's another.
But that's competing. That's going directly against the NBA.
That's another TV rights discussion. I don't care too much about that. But my point is, at least I always feel like he's a fan of the NFL, and they're at least trying to do things. Where with the NCAA, I mean, I'd say Nero was fiddling while Rome burned, but
yeah.
I mean, the NCAA loaded dry hay into every building, poured gasoline, gave kids matches, and built a fireworks factory right next to everything.
Yeah,
it did.
Absolutely no one was trying to figure out a way. It just really feels like everyone in the NCAA was like, well, we're just going to take this as long as we can, get as many profits, and then it's going to be someone else's problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those as well where it's the smaller schools are upset because guess what? They're treating basically they're getting treated the way they treated their players, and them not realizing like they were like 50% of the beneficiaries of the, if that's even the right word, but they benefited the most from the NCAA, and that they're just getting pissed because they're not getting paid.
Yeah.
And that instead of that distribution money, the NCAA is going to keep and say like, we need to run operations, guys. Womp womp.
Yep.
It sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. Like they can't. Yeah. So anyway, positive note though, Swiggy and Gavin, you both were mentioning like baseball and stuff too. Let's add in softball as well. Softball's in regionals at the moment.
And super regionals.
Yep. They won their regional. I think, I don't want to say Oregon gave them a run for their money, but that inconsistency showed up again. But still, they made it to super regionals, and they faced Florida State. Yep. And they face Florida State's going to be down there, one of their pitchers as well. So
yes,
plays to OU's advantage for that.
I mean, my entire thing with the softball team is kind of like this, and some will say this is a loser attitude, but I don't care.
It's like, loser attitude, Swiggy. You should be disappointed in yourself.
I want to win. I want to win really bad, but given our amazing success over the last couple of years, whatever happens in the super regional and college, and I'm just gonna say I think we will be Florida State. Whatever happens in the softball, whatever happens in the World Series of softball, just happens. I'm kind of
correct,
because for as good, because while this is still a very good team, they're not like a historic team, and like that's kind of the only time I really feel bad when we lose is if it's like, oh, this is like a historic team. This is a great number one team.
They're struggling. Let's be honest, they are struggling.
For them, they're struggling. For any for any normal team, this is what a season can be like. We'll see if they have enough gas left in the tank. If they don't, they don't. I still think they have a great chance. They won't be. I don't have them as overwhelming favorites, but that's why I'm kind of like, just make the softball World Series, and whatever happens, happens. There's absolutely no shit. I mean, given the run we've gone on the last couple of years, I can't be mad. I can't be mad if this is. Because look, at some point we were going to have a season where we weren't going to win.
Correct.
I wish we could do it forever.
And that's inevitable. At some point, that happens.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, if it's this team, I'm fine with it. If we had done another undefeated season and we were looking wobbly, I'd be more concerned because I'm like, don't waste this chance. No, you have another chance at history, but. Since we're like a 2 seed, and we could have been 1. Well, Texas? I feel like that's interchangeable between us and Texas.
Yeah, it was very interchangeable, honestly, because like a lot of it was because of the RPI and strength of schedule, if anything.
Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I have no problem with how they. I had no problem with Texas being 1. Like I said, so if we lose, okay. Not going to be happy. Not going to, I'm not going to. But I'll still be like, it was still making the softball World Series is still a really good season.
Yeah.
So it's just I'm just saying, if this is the team that we break the streak with, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
It's not something, and I think a lot of people have to accept that this team is it's not that they don't have the grit, they don't have the ability to. It's a lot tougher climb, and I think a lot of people are more predicting Stanford at the moment to win it all because of their pitcher.
Stanford.
Well, the problem, you can only take so far with that pitcher, though, if anything, too, and
that's true.
That's the only issue that I've had with Stanford and some of the other teams. Now, like I will say, like. I'm like the issues with like Texas and OSU. At least they have like, it's not saying it's the same thing as Oklahoma, but like you have your 3 pillars, with your offense, your pitching, and your defense, all working together and everything.
Exactly.
But the problem is that with Stanford, it's pretty much just their one pillar that they have, and it's their pitching. And
Yeah.
And I will, and the one thing I was gonna go back to this too, because looking at it from the bracket standpoint, from everything else, the bracket side of where OU is at is actually a little bit more favorable of where they're at in a bracket standpoint than say at the number 1 spot, because then you would have had I think with OSU, and then not only with Stanford, but also I can't remember, dealing with Tennessee as well. So it's a little bit more of a tougher side on where Texas's side of the bracket is actually at more than anything. It's probably the tougher side. So I think we got the little bit more of an easier side of the bracket.
I don't disagree with you on that. Speaking of that, who do you have right now for a couple of them, Texas or Texas A&M?
I would have to give the edge to Texas because honestly, Reese Atwood has definitely been, proven why she's Player of the Year finalist candidate and everything too. Mac, who's been pitching for Texas, it's been doing really well. Texas A&M's been doing decent, but I just don't see enough of it going on to where they can get past the supers at this point.
What about
it would take a lot to basically upset.
Correct. What about Tennessee, Alabama? Tennessee, Alabama.
Tennessee, Tennessee with their offense right now, it's definitely been probably a lot more better, if anything. Bama has just kind of been very inconsistent all season long and everything, so I have to give it to Tennessee.
If Bama's I will say, if Bama's bats stay alive, they'll have a good shot against Tennessee. If their bats go bad, if their bats are how they've been up until regionals the last month, Bama's in trouble. They're in trouble.
Bama's not as strong as they've been in the years past for softball.
No.
I think they're in our same position where it's like they can make it to the World Series, but where do we plateau at that point? What about Florida and Baylor?
Florida at this point, Baylor had going up against Louisiana and everything, had a little bit of a good run there, but Florida right now has proven why they're actually kind of one of the tougher teams in the SEC and why they won the SEC conference title.
Oklahoma State, Arizona.
I gotta keep it with OSU because honestly, Kilfoyle right now in the last I don't know, almost feels like a month. She has been, lighting it up on fire, especially in the circle, and the bats have starting to get really hot for OSU.
Yeah. UCLA, Georgia.
UCLA. I think it's gonna be UCLA. I think that's UCLA.
I'm seeing this as UCLA, so as well.
Missouri,
and
Duke.
then that one's my 50-50 matchup, and it's like I want to go with Missouri, but after what they had to go through regionals, having to beat Omaha twice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very skeptical about if they have to win twice against Omaha just to make it. I really have a problem with that. So I have to maybe give a slight edge to Duke a little bit here.
And then finally, what about Stanford, LSU?
This one's my 50-50 matchup here because LSU has been very. They were pretty much really good for the season, and then they started going downhill a little bit, and then starting getting inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really have a problem. And then you're going up against one of the best pitchers, I think, in all of college softball.
Yeah.
But the problem is like with Stanford, it's like, yeah, you have your great pitching, but your pitching can only take you so far too. So if I had to choose between these two teams, I would say give me the pitching every single time. So I'm going with Stanford.
Who do you think, and both of y'all's opinion, who do you think is going to be the final run for the finals and for the championship? If whatever your gut's telling you.
Okay, so and this is just me, but right now I have as my three teams, I I know I need to be down to 2, but I only have 3 teams that are pretty much in really good contention. I have Texas as one of them. I see OU and OSU being in it as well. Because honestly, like those 3 teams can definitely make a case of making it in. And it's like I said, OU having that bit of a weak side of the bracket will kind of maybe put them more towards an advantage. And then of course it depends on like whoever's like the other side of the bracket that because whenever you lose like your first game after you win or so, you basically drop to the other side of the bracket or so. So it depends on really all that. But I can definitely see those 3 teams making a run. Tennessee, they can do all right, but I very much am usually a little suspect with their pitching a little bit because that's always been my problem with them more than anything. It's like they can go great, lighting it on fire on offense, but I always get a little skeptical when it kind of comes into their pitching and defense a little bit.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit as well. As we're talking like championships and playoffs, we talked a little bit of baseball, we talked a little bit of softball, but what we haven't talked about is the Thunder lost a heartbreaker Sunday night against the Mavericks, 117 to 116 or 116 to 115. I don't care at this point. They made a great run.
It was 117, 116.
Yeah.
They made a great run, and I think everybody was hoping for them to get right now's around, but it is what it is. Everyone did not expect them to win it all. Let's be honest, nobody expected that. If so, you're lying.
Nah,
that said,
you hope.
Yeah, I don't.
You hope, yeah.
I don't know if they would have beaten the Timberwolves or the Nuggets, and for sure they aren't beating the Celtics. So to me, they made it. Getting to the playoff, getting to the second round was an accomplishment on their own, and I think they finally figured out their weaknesses at the moment. But it was a good run for the Thunder this year.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think I've said this before on here. I think I said it to you. This year's Thunder felt like a very 2019 Nuggets run, where it's like they were still figuring things out. They were a good surprise team, and it feels like, and they're close. Like, it's still good. I don't think the Thunder are frauds. People who said that are wrong. It's the NBA playoffs are hard. It's
talking to you, Shannon Sharp.
It's just but the reason I said I picked Mavs in 6 was because the Mavs just had a little bit more experience. Luka, Kyrie, they've been there before. And that does matter in the playoffs.
It does because of that experience, but also too, like, you can't give up 3, one of them being a 17 double-digit lead, and then just blow it away and expect to win. Like, at some point, that again, chickens. That may be the theme tonight. If chickens come home to roost, that also is it. Like, you can't give that up, and that's probably goes to more experience.
Well, and the other thing too, and this is something though too, and you got to give credit for the Mavs though too. They got exact needs where they got on basically the deadline of the trade, where they basically got PJ Washington, right at the very end of things. Because if they didn't get him,
that's always the funniest thing about the NBA playoffs, where sometimes that just happens. Like, I'll use the Mavericks as a great example. Mavericks in 2011 when they played the Heat. I mean, history shows that JJ Barea and Jason Kidd only shot like 30%, only shot like 33, 36% from 3-point range. But I remember watching that series, and they shot like 100% when on the threes they needed to hit. And sometimes that just happens. The Thunder decided, we're gonna go and let PJ Washington take those shots, and we'll live with them. That's not a horrible idea, depending on the defense you have to play. Everything's connected, everything's there, and look in a 6-game series, the two teams were tied points wise. It was a very close series, but the difference was the Mavs got like 5-7 rebounds when they needed to, and they hit just a few more threes to push it. it was a tough series. It wasn't like so. I mean, if you take anything good away from it, look, SGA looked great. Chet in his first season looked very good. He needs to bulk up.
All rookie team, by the way.
Yeah. There was a lot good to take away from it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's I want to stress that, like, there's a lot of positivity for this. Like, the Thunder's still loaded on their draft picks for like the next 4 years. Like, they're good to go. Now it's all right, we got to clean this stuff up. We can't throw up on points. We got to clean up some of the rebounding.
Can we get a little more muscle, at least, if anything?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, I would rather. I mean, I could live like, and I want to say, not exactly the same, but kind of have like somewhat of a similar, like with like Serge Ibaka or something like that. Back in the day or so. Boxing out and dealing blocks and stuff like that, and that way you can be able to control the paint a little bit.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think the Thunder handled it well. Like, I'll say, if this was like year 3 of their quote unquote window, I think I think they're much more open for criticism for the moves they didn't make. But like, there is something to be said about being patient, especially year 1, because the Thunder, in Thunder, sorry, not Thunder, in theory, the Thunder could have traded 2 picks for PJ Washington, but unfortunately, things aren't linear in the NBA. People love to believe it. People love to believe they are, but it's just not. PJ Washington probably does not have the same series for the Thunder he has for the Mavs. Sometimes, especially NBA, things just kind of happen. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And I felt like with the Thunder that after game 4, I said, okay, with how the Thunder played and how everything's going, if they win game 5, I have confidence they can win the series, because really, if you win game 5, you can rest everybody, bring it home, win it in game 7. Yeah, you would prefer to win it in game 6, but with how the Mavericks were playing, you really want to win it in game 7, especially how the Thunder was playing against Luka later in the series. I said, if they lose game 5, they're probably going to lose the series, because I just don't. They're in desperation mode at that point, and I didn't see them winning in Dallas. To tie it up at least.
I will say one nice thing about the Mavs, and this is the one. This is the one thing I'm going. This is the one nice thing I'm going to say. Kyrie Irving is evidence that you can post a link to an anti-Semitic video, not apologize, and then just do a lip service apology, get traded, get paid, and everyone will forgive you because you're good at basketball. USA.
Gosh,
that's my piece on Kyrie. I had to say it. Sorry, Kyrie's just going off tonight, and it's like I'm seeing a whole lot of people who are just like,
He's also the same guy that also said that the Earth was flat too.
Yeah.
So
I hate losing to those people who are just like, Same thing with Luka. Like, just proved he's a whiny little bitch.
Oh my gosh, I was like so happy when they issued him a tech in that game 6. Honestly, I mean, he was probably. I have never seen it. I mean, it was like almost like him playing a soccer match at this point. Is all I can say. That's what it felt like more than anything. The flops and the dives and everything that went on and everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, this was probably like one of the most pathetic ways and everything. And all of this is like, and the media was hyping up with all of the injuries that's going on. And it's like, okay, there might be a few injuries here or there, but come on. If you're saying that he should have been resting for 2 or 3 months or something like that, then there's just no way that he should, it's like, you're just overhyping this again.
Yeah. It's since I have, we'll pay some lip service here because this is an important thing. So in case you also missed it, the Dallas Stars made the Western Conference Finals. So we are officially at years since Conference Finals, in DFW sports. Let's see here. Texas Rangers, it's 0. Dallas Stars, up to 0. Dallas Mavericks, 0. Dallas Cowboys, 29. Good God, what is happening in there?
I mean, Jerry Jones. If you really,
I mean, here's the thing. Should we tell Sean that he has a little hope now, probably with Dallas going on in that area with the Cowboys or so?
It's wild at how incompetent that team is and that franchise.
I don't even like I said, I don't even mock the like that's the most Dallas Cowboys mocking I'll do. I can't mock the Cowboys anymore. It's like
but you know who we can mock though?
Who? Jerry? I'll mock Jerry.
No. I'm gonna preface and say we shouldn't celebrate anybody losing their jobs. Okay, I preface that going into this particular part because whenever somebody loses a job, it is a devastating thing, regardless. However, I am gonna be the one because I'm not here to make friends. I'm just here to live stream. I'm just here to have fun. How did the people at Sellout Crowd not see that they already had a failed model going into it and did shocked Pikachu face that I can't believe this happened, my dudes? Like this entire framework that you developed 9 months ago was outdated the moment that y'all published it. The moment that Sellout Crowd was actually mentioned as Sellout Crowd, it was a bad gig. I don't understand who thought, aside of it being we've heard pyramid scheme essentially on that, or they got scammed. To me, the immediate red flag was, well, we're going to hire 21 journalists to cover Oklahoma sports. Like, my dude, Sooner Scoop only has 5. And that's enough for just Sooner Sports alone for it. I think a lot of it came down to that I'm mock in the sense of they wanted to run the old school 2010 Oklahoman model where they just wanted to run stories that nobody wanted to read. Nobody cared about certain stories, especially ones that Barry and Jenny ran. Some of them had a lot of inflated ego and don't realize they're not really well liked in Oklahoma. And that led to the downfall at that point. That said, I saw... Go ahead.
They don't have...
sorry, this just came in from ESPN, but the NCAA board votes to accept $2.7 billion antitrust settlement, joining the Big Ten, ACC, and the Big 12.
Oh yeah, that happened earlier today too. They were just, the Big was the first one to get the settlement done, vote on it, and then they were just waiting on everybody else. And it's just, it doesn't matter what the rest of the conference would say, it's going to move forward for that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yes,
anyway,
that's fine. But no, it's just we saw today too, Barry Trammell's now going to the Tulsa world. You escaped one and now you're going to the other.
Yeah,
it was interesting because I actually was talking about it too, and it's what? It was when I didn't know the Tulsa World was going to have another sports writer, honestly, at this point, because some of the others were just mostly a lot of freelance sports writers and everything. Now you're just going to go ahead and just go with what's going on here. It's didn't make a lick of sense for me, if anything.
If only they had Oklahoma sports media legend Eddie with them, that would have made the whole difference.
Exactly. Except he's with Sooner Scoop. And with promoting clear lens LASIK as well. But no, it's a...
I joke. I joke. I like it. I joke. Eddie is Eddie, but I like it. I joke.
I look at it as I still cannot believe that they thought this model was going to work out. It seemed very get rich quick type of deal. We're going to...
Well, no, it seemed get rich quick for whoever was in charge. Everything else about that just seemed. I mean, I get people, and here's the thing: I get people. I understand people who decided, we're going to take the risk for it.
Yeah, I understand that too. Hey, the Oklahoman's failing. We want to try to branch out. I totally get that. I will never criticize someone for taking the risk.
Yeah, but
there's so many red flags in the very, very beginning. Why would you jump to go do that risk, especially when it was supposed to be a podcast format?
I mean, I could definitely.
It's oversaturated.
Yeah. Well, what, podcasts are oversaturated. When does that happen?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I get it though, but that's one of those things where you either acknowledge red flags or you decide to ignore them, or you think red's just a really good color. I mean, that's what that's what Disney that's what Disney thought with the Star Wars Hotel. Red is the best color we can. Red is the best color we have.
Yeah, that's going to be a case study of what not to do in the future for it. OU sport related while I'm thinking of it as well. Did y'all see, and it really doesn't matter at this point because it only just confirms kind of what we were thinking. But did y'all see that Tolly Walker release, like, why did I leave OU? It's because he just kind of sort of, I guess, criticized DeMarco's handling of the running back room and said he just wanted to be number one when it was just like, my dude, when the other talent comes in, you're still not going to be number one. And I can understand being frustrated at that when you've earned your spot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Whatever. A player has issues with usage and doesn't like how a coach is using them. Story is old as time. I get it.
Well, I also think too that Walker at the end of the day was not going to be the difference maker that he thought he was going to be. Last year when we were down and stuff, sure, I think he would have been a good rotational guy in there. I don't doubt that, but as a starter against Sawchuk or against what's his name coming in, I don't see him as a first string. I saw him probably as a second. Tatum, yeah. I saw him as a second string.
Yeah, I mean between Sawchuk and between Sawchuk and Tatum though too. It's like I just don't know how you would be able to get in there if anything because you were just basically the next man up more than anything else. I mean that's just all it was at this point.
Correct, and we know like DeMarco's style is he wants the home run guy every single time for it, and I don't know if that's a reflection on DeMarco of how he played on it, or like we want the best of the best of the best, the cream of the crop. Start our starters. I get both sides of it. In my opinion, I do think that Walker did earn his scholarship.
Yeah.
But you also have 5 stars coming in. Like it's kind of imagine if Tolly Walker was on defense and David Stone comes in. It's very, very sure, like, my dude, you're not going to be the starter.
Yeah.
He'll probably start a couple games, but the moment David Stone's ready to go, no, you're out.
Yeah,
I think that's how I look at it, I guess. And I think he should have realized that.
Yeah, I get it. It is what it is. It's that's pretty much the history of college transfers, where guy doesn't like his usage. It's just easier for them. It's just easier for guys now to leave, and that's it. It's just that's just where we are. But it looks like we're coming up to about an hour here. Anyone have any other thoughts? Anything else we want to talk about?
I'll have one other one to wrap up for it, and we'll have maybe 5-10 minutes left. Last week they did unveil for all you gamers out there EA's College Football 25. It is going to release July 19th. I wouldn't have put that in top if we didn't have a little bit of time to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I played last one I played was NCAA 14. I will be up front. Sports games are indifferent for me on consoles. That's just not my thing. I prefer other games. That said, I am cautiously optimistic and I want to see more. I think it is a valid concern. It's still EA at the end of the day when we're waiting for where are we going to get screwed at essentially at this point, because they're going to nickel and dime in some capacity. It's why I'm worried. Like, I'll say the teaser trailer was cool.
Yeah,
but I feel like we've been through this dog and pony show before where you can pre-render stuff like really output it and it not reflect what it looks like in the game. So I want to see the actual gameplay and the actual content in motion. That's not a trailer before I make like a judgment call on it. I do like that. It seems like the developers really did take their time to research schools, to get traditions in, to really put like modernized stuff there. I thought that was neat. But again, until I see some stuff in some modes and some builds, you can't convince me. Like, it's a $70 game until they release it. But again, we have 2 months to go. That's kind of my other worry. Gavin, we know it's going to be a day one purchase for you. We know you're going to take off that day.
Oh, yeah, I am definitely going to do that. But I'm also been kind of on the fritz, too, because I am basically still on the Xbox One, and it's like, I don't know if basically if it's going to be available on Xbox One, or if it's going to be just only on X and S, if anything.
I think it's going to be on X and S only.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's X and S, but I don't know.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then I'll probably need to go ahead and just get a new console at this point.
Yeah, I would recommend probably a PlayStation 5 right now. Unless you're unless you're hell bent on like Game Pass or something like myself, for it.
Yeah, I have Game Pass.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, then I would say, yeah, I would go for the Xbox just so you can transfer stuff over then.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at right now. So.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm kind of whatever on it. I've seen how they've treated Madden. I mean, we've seen some things where it's like no mascot mode or anything, and like I'm fine with that. I think very much, like, I know people are like, well, why can't, it's like some of this is, I think it's important to have realistic goals when you're relaunching a franchise.
Yeah.
And mascot mode to me is a waste of time. At least
mascot mode is a gimmick. It's a DLC.
At least initially. So I'm at least happy they seem to be having realistic goals for what they can do. Whether or not they're, I don't know. I'm going to be at my cousin's wedding that weekend, so even if I do play it, I won't be playing it for like a week. And so I'm gonna have a chance to see it out in the wild to decide if it's a purchase. I hope it's really good. I hope they are taking this seriously, because this is the most hype this game series is ever going to get. This is your one chance to rehook people who will be very willing to buy it year in, year out. So I hope they don't mess this up. I'm skeptical because EA tends to do stuff, and I'm nervous about that. But all I have to say is, you don't screw it up. This is the most anyone has cared about any of your sports games in a long time. I mean, because even FIFA hasn't died down, but doesn't have like the same pizzazz that's been around that's been on the internet, that's been around other stuff. It still sells well, don't get me wrong.
Well,
people still play FIFA. People still play FIFA.
It's not FIFA anymore. It's called FC now.
Oh, FC. Yeah, see that? Whatever their soccer game is. My point is, you have a captive audience. You don't even really need to market the game because everyone who wants it is ready to buy it. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Don't fuck it up. Just like, as long as you make a solid, good-looking football game, and I can be where I can play as OU. Cool. There, you've done it. Everyone will love it. Everyone will love you. But if you waste this chance, I mean, they'll still make the game year in, year out, because hey, they do it with Madden. But you've lost. You'll lose a big part of your audience if you mess it up.
Yeah.
You know, one mode I would love to have in there that I don't think they've ever had before, but I think it'd be fun to promote like rosters and traditions of the program, is highlight like the biggest games of all time and being able to play those separately from the season, like their own custom ones. So the game of the century.
I think they've had that before, or I think Madden had.
That was like in 2005 or 2006. It was like somewhere. Because it was like basically the ESPN Classic games is what it was.
Yeah, it's like oh, take this classic game at this point, and you have a chance to change history.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. So,
was that NCAA 2005?
I think it was 2005 or 2006, I believe. Yeah, because it basically had like the ESPN Classic games, and it wasn't just 1971. You had like the Hail Mary between with BYU, and then you also had quite a few other nostalgic games, even the Cal Stanford game, banned on the field, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah. So I think. Yeah. I mean, I think they can do. I think they can do some good stuff with it. Whether they will or not, that's up to EA. It depends. Well, I mean, it depends how much EA's interfered with them, because EA loves to interfere. Let me check something really quick though.
I mean, EA. That's what EA loves to do.
I mean, yeah. I just want to check some. Yeah, I just want to check something. I just want to check something really quick. Does it have who? Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I don't know. I'm skeptical because they're using the Frostbite engine. But hey, one day that engine will work for sports games, right?
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's so there's where my skepticism comes from. I hope I'm wrong.
To me, that's fair.
I hope I'm wrong. Frostbite does look really good, and if EA could ever get Frostbite to work for any non-shooter games, it would be fantastic. I'm not someone who feels like you can't do it. For example, even though it's kind of a shooter, the Dead Space remake was built on Frostbite.
But it was fantastic, so we don't count that one because that was.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I know. Hey, I'm someone who celebrates successes and failures, even though you're just remaking it you just remade a game in Frostbite. At the very least, I will still celebrate successes. I'm not someone who's just totally going to be, oh, there's no way this can work. So
right.
I
have to be sold on it.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
I have to be sold on it, and I think that's very valid because of EA's track record, and Madden exists because I always go back to it of, you can update aesthetics, you can update player stats, how much can you actually though update on a sports game? I like the wear and tear idea. I like some of the game changing stuff like the luck factor stuff, but how much can you really change on it?
I mean, it's it's a sport. I mean, it's a sports game. But at the same time, that doesn't matter because all people really want is to play as their team and have updates to modes. So we'll see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Gavin, any final thoughts or anything before we wrap up for tonight?
I just need to find a way to save up an extra $400 or $500. That's my next goal.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't help you there, but that at least you have time and everything. It's not like football's going to go away or anything at this point. But yeah, that just opens up your possibilities and stuff for other games. Swiggy, any final thoughts for tonight before we wrap up?
Let's see. My only thought is getting close to the getting close to the season starting. Excited for it. Excited for the summer, and that's all I got.
Yep, and I mean that we are officially, like I said earlier in the live stream, we are 100 days off until OU kicks off their first game in the SEC against Temple. We are still a little bit off from the first game against the SEC itself, but we're still 100 days before the season starts. So with that, I want to announce a project I've been working on in conjunction with Gavin, and y'all are going to be the first ones to hear it on this live stream. For the next 100 days, starting tonight, I will be posting one fact every single day about OU college football, whether it's going to be the tradition, whether it's about the games, whether it's about players, obscure facts, whatever it is, it's going to be celebrating the Oklahoma legacy as we enter the SEC, because I realize a lot of people don't really know about our program in the SEC if they don't know about us directly beyond, like, say, Alabama knows about us. They know about us being a blue blood, but other people just think of us as just that school that plays Boomer Sooner over a lot, which is also true. So, but be for sure, guys, to be looking forward to those videos. Gavin and I have worked really hard on this project, and I hope you enjoy it. So, with that said, guys, be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live or when I upload a trivia fact or a video at that point. How you do that? Again, you can subscribe to this channel. Be sure to tune in on our next live stream. I don't know if it's going to be a hangout live stream or if it's going to be a Sunday live stream. It all depends what happens here and now on football news and college sports news in general at this point. So finally, everybody stay safe. The weather, like we mentioned in the earlier part of this live stream, has been wild and all over the place. Be weather aware, guys. Stay safe. It's still May 22nd. We still have a ways to go. And for all you people in Texas and Florida where the heat is, hey, drink a lot of water, put sunscreen on. It's just going to be a wild, wild, wild weather year, in my opinion. So that all said, guys, Boomer Sooner. There's only one Oklahoma, and we'll see everybody on the next #405 show. Later.
Peace out.
Bye.